We are live. So we are doing a live show. We have Kim Aids from
Kim
Frame
Addis.
of Addis. I'm sorry. I'm horrible
No,
with
I
names.
should have
Okay.
said that beforehand.
You know what? Okay, so Becca's running it. I'm going to shut up now.
No.
Yes.
So we have Kim Addis from Frame of Mind Coaching and longtime friend for well over almost a decade now, right? If I do the math right.
I thought it was a bit longer, but whatever. I don't care. I'm not really counting.
Doesn't matter. It's a good one regardless. And Becca Buttermore with many different hats, but it's time events is really what we're going to talk about a little bit today. And then Michael, who's kind of pulling us all together with our aligning teams event.
Yes.
So welcome.
I'm happy to be here.
So what I thought we could do today is just sort of talk about what each of us is doing in our own little corners of the world to really align teams. I realize that is the branding of Michael's and my and everybody's event at this point. But really at the end of the day, Kim, you do it both on a personal level and within companies. But I think that talking about aligning teams, even if it's on the personal end of things, that's maybe an individual within their family, right? That's still a team that we're looking at.
For sure.
And so, I've been in it up to my eyeballs with you for a long, long time now. And then Michael came into the picture and is doing it on an even grander scale. And so if you guys just want to take a quick second to kind of talk about, Michael, why don't you start first with what Aligning Teams is doing for anybody who's joining us who hasn't heard that already. And then Kim, I was just going to have you kind of share with us what you're already experiencing and what do you love to do and get into when you come into whether it's a corporation that they've asked you to come speak or when we do this just on an individual basis, how you're aligning teams.
Sure. Happy to talk about that. Michael, go for it.
I love Becca running the show. This is awesome. So aligning teams, it's pretty straightforward, right? We as an organization believe that part of aligning teams is helping each individual be aligned. And it in turn helps each individual with an organization feel valued, heard, and seen. By doing that, it works towards personal fulfillment, personal freedom, inner peace, finding your soul's passion and purpose, living into that, being able to overcome past obstacles that maybe just are stuck, helping keep you stuck. And truly, the event is about a 4-day immersive experience to help reach a different level of self awareness. Through that event, each individual participant will experience anywhere from 12 to 15 different types of modalities of coaching and insight and so on. And it's an experiential, immersive event. They will be happening on a very regular basis. They will be happening all over the world. And we are starting local to me because I'm selfish and I have 3 kids and can't go anywhere. So that's the way we're living today. But no, I mean, obviously every venue is thought out with intent and with intention. And we are always going to find places that seem a little different, that seem a little safer, that have a longevity, have a history, have an energy about them that can carry it through. And that is why we are choosing local to me, the first either event or two, that is going to be at the Normandy Farm, which has a very old feeling to it because it's a 285 to 290-year-old structure, and it's stood the test of time and change and everything. It's older than the country itself, and if we really think about it, it's pretty remarkable. Um, and that's really what aligning teams is, right? And it's introducing different types of coaches, coaching styles, ways to reach people, traditional and non-traditional. And I think I'll end it there. Go ahead, Kim. And I won't butcher your last name again.
I mean, we've been coaching leaders, executives, entrepreneurs for the past 17 plus years. And we've always started with the leader. We've always started with the owner, the person at the top of the pyramid. And what we find is that when there is a lack of alignment in an organization, it's usually an indicator that the leader, him or herself, is out of alignment individually. And so our goal is to help that leader find alignment on a personal level, which transmits to the professional arena and then has a trickle down effect. But if an individual is out of sync with him or herself, you're going to find that they thrash about in their environment. They're not at peace. They have friction. They feel like they're not maximizing their potential. They feel like this sense of, I'm always behind the 8 ball. I'm never where I need to be. We're never moving as quickly. People don't get me. And so we see that all the time. And so what I like to do when we talk about aligning teams is start with the leader and say, okay, so, hey, leader, at the end of the day, when you look at your environment, when you look at your team, you got to look in the mirror. And if you're happy with what you see, now look at your team. But if you're not at peace, if you're out of sync with yourself, the work starts with you. And so that's the approach that I like to use. And I find it's extraordinarily powerful because when a leader takes it upon him or herself to take full responsibility for what they're bringing to the table, what happens is that has a positive effect on the rest of the team. They are learning by example, and they are setting the stage for massive growth. But if a leader isn't willing to grow, if a leader isn't willing to take responsibility, lack of alignment.
So that's one of the things, because I remember when I came to the table with you, Kim, I came for business help, right? Like I felt like it was my communication problem, I'm sure was the first thing that we talked about. But really, I knew where I was in my business. We had opened the practice several years prior, lots of, good successes and whatnot, but I knew where it could be and I knew where it was, and I couldn't see that path in between. And I think the interesting thing, particularly Michael, as we've continued to get the word out there with aligning teams and that event, is how do you speak to, communicate, connect with a leader and gently say, it all starts with you. Because I think it's really easy. So I'm speaking from where I was, right? Like my staff wasn't doing this right, or they wouldn't listen to this, or I'd say this and they wouldn't. And I loved my staff. Like we would go out to dinners together. So it wasn't that I didn't like the people I was working with, but I wasn't at the place yet that I even knew to look in the mirror, or that it was safe to look in the mirror. Sometimes it's like, oh, no, not my fault. Couldn't be my fault. I'm educated and I'm the doctor and and so it was interesting to me as I would, think about what am I going to post on LinkedIn about this event? Like, how do I speak to the leader in such a way that it's safe for them to come to the table and not feel that resistance or say, not me, I don't want to go there, or it's not me, it's them. I don't know.
So for me, it starts with lots of questions, right? Lots of, why are you still in your business? Why are you leading this company? Why are you doing it specifically, right? And if you don't know why, then you're coming to the right place. And if you do know why, then why are your employees or coworkers in this? And if you don't know why, then you're in the right place, right? Like, because again, it's about valuing each individual as an individual. And before you can do that, you have to value yourself, right? You have to understand why you're being a part of it, why you're leading something. Why did you want to do it? What motivates you, right? And where is your passion aligned with what you're doing? And once you get to that point, then you can identify in those around you why they're there, and you can pay attention to what motivates them. What's their why? What did they see as a fit? Was it because truly it was just the best job they can get at the time? Is it just the best pay rate? Is money more important than knowing their kids' birthdays or knowing what motivates them? Or, and I said it many times, like, if you know that you have an employee that cares so much about coaching their kids' sports teams, and that's what really, it's all about their quality of life. Maybe rather than a raise, sponsor their sports teams, right? Show how much it means to you and how much they mean to you, and value them, truly value them.
I think we were pretty good at that. That was one thing we would always say at the interviews, like, we're not always going to be the highest paying, but man, if they had a kids event or if they had something going on, like we were very good. And my partner in particular at, we even had like the list of favorites, and it was all kinds of, not just like a candy bar favorite, but that was a fun part of being the leader, is being able to see them at a different just see them really at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, what is it that really speaks to them? But Kim, I think you have a way of, I don't know the right word to say, but like sharing something that might be tough, but you do it with a hug. I don't know if it's always a hug, but I could always feel you were always in my corner. In fact, I remember where I was sitting one day, I was like, it's weird, but I feel like there's this strange relationship that we have, but I feel like you're always in my corner. And like at some point I've got to be wrong about what I'm saying, right? But yet you were always in my corner. And I just love your perspective and ability to help a person through something that may be really tough and is really limiting them, but yet stand beside us the whole way.
Yeah. So it's a very interesting question. The question you asked, Michael, which is, how do you enroll someone in looking at themselves without resistance? Mm-hmm. And to me, the answer is, number one is you absolutely 100% get behind the person, right? You do stand in their corner and you see them in a way that they cannot see themselves. You see them in this tremendously powerful, bright, healthy, well light, right? And so that's starting point A. And that is an inside job. That's something when I talk to someone, I have to do that by myself. Nobody helps me have that vision for the person I am talking to. But that's the starting point. But the second part, and it's funny because you said, how do you gently bring them from one place to the other? And the moment you said gently, I'm like, why do you have to be so gentle? Right? Like that's what hit me. And the reason why I don't want to be gentle is because gentle and passionate don't go together. And so when I am standing in your corner, I am super passionate about what's possible for you. And that's not a gentle feeling.
I agree. I guess I was saying from a standpoint of not pushing them back.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's a way that I think passion is a good word because it's clear that you're in my corner, even though you feel very strongly about it.
Exactly. And so my strategy, if you will, is always to say, what is it that you actually want?
That's my favorite question. What do you really, really, really want?
What do you really want? And how have you been attempting to get there? And let's take a look at how that way that you've been attempting isn't actually yielding the results you're looking for. And so when I do that, the person kind of says, well, what do you mean? Right. So you're right. That's, it's absolutely right. I'm not getting to where I want to go using this approach. So what approach should I use? And now there's an opening for a conversation. Now there's an opening to welcome them in and show them a different path. But you need to do those, take those steps in order to have them really be willing to hear and listen.
And you do it really well.
Thanks.
And you've taught lots of others to do it as well.
Yeah, it's my secret sauce, right? To pass things along.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Any thoughts, Michael? If not, I was going to take us another direction, but go there first.
For me, I agree with that completely, right? And when it's interesting, right? Because there's many levels of connecting with somebody, and to do the blanket promotion, marketing, whatever you want to call it, of an event like this is extraordinarily difficult to encapsulate what somebody individual needs that's going to resonate with them, which is why it's very important to always keep putting out different ways that it can possibly resonate, because you never know exactly what their point's going to be, right? So what their pain point, what their point of change, what their target point, what they might not want to talk about but know that they need to shift with, right? Because we're all semi-self-aware, and we're all semi-self-aware how we avoid what really needs to change. So, where I get a little lost at times is how to word to reach more people different areas of pain points, right? Luckily, I've surrounded myself with very brilliant people that are very good at wording things. And that's just not my forte. Janine is great at it. Stephanie's great at it. Becca's great at it. Really, everybody on the team's great at it. I don't always feel that I am. But when I find my flow, I find my flow.
I was going to say you find it.
And that's right. And that's going to resonate at a different level with whoever, right? it's definitely the listening. It's definitely the showing them themselves. It's definitely seeing who they are at their core beyond all the surface titles and surface everything that we run around with badges of honor so that we can forget any trauma that we've buried. So it's definitely seeing them is enormous. Hearing and listening to them is huge because when you listen to somebody, then you know where to take the conversation next, right? And you know how to extrapolate from them in their own words what they need, right? And it's all about that active listening.
So it's interesting. You were just talking about all of the different team members for aligning teams. And Kim, I alluded to the fact that we've got many coaches within Frame of Mind. And I think that's an interesting piece. And what I'm looking to achieve with our It's Time events is really different things and different people and different styles and different languages resonate with different people, which makes sense, right? But that's one of the things that both of you are very good at. And I'm kind of just collaborating between the two of you and pulling the different groups together with It's Time so that people can get an experience of different languages and different feels and different approaches. It's one of the things that I love, Kim, as you talk to different clients and kind of do that orientation call. It's fun for me to kind of watch your brain say, who is this person going to resonate with? You know, what does this person really need right now? And who's the best fit as a coach? And so if you have a second to talk a little bit about like, what do you do? You've talked to companies, right? Like, so you sometimes will go in and do a presentation for a larger company, and then they will take a few of their top executives and you'll handle it that way. But what do you do when you go into like a larger meeting?
When I'm in a larger meeting, I have a certain presentation that I'm doing. Fine. But what I do is I make sure that presentation is super interactive so that I can hear people talk. I can hear how they react. I can hear how they show up when they're on the spot. I can hear how they feel comfortable if they're in front of everybody else and I pull them up on stage. So I can hear not only the words they use, but I can see visually how they're responding to things. And that gives me a very strong sense for how a person operates, how they show up, what matters to them, what they're uncomfortable with. And that's always the starting point. But what I always want to do, and Michael alluded to it over and over again, when it comes down to pairing someone, it becomes a very individual conversation, right? So the more information I can gather, the better. That's why when we coach people, we're asking them to journal. Why are we asking them to journal? Because we're gathering data. The more data we gather, the better, right? But I see a question from someone here. Can we answer that question? Carl Sean Watkins. Hi, Carl. So his question is, how do you have a conversation if someone doesn't know themselves, but the desire is there? Most people don't know themselves. Like even the people who have been doing this, like I've been doing this for almost 18 years. I know myself, but there's still so much more to learn. And so it's not about coming to the table fully knowledgeable. In fact, if you do have that knowledge, why bother coming to the table, right? So part of coaching is the discovery. And so if there's a willingness, then now the journey begins. And so how do you have that conversation? By showing intense curiosity, by showing interest, by asking the right questions, and sometimes the wrong questions. It doesn't really matter. Sometimes just asking the questions. And mostly, more than anything, it's showing up. And it's showing up consistently, right? So when you are the person where people can rely on you, now you're creating an environment where people are willing to open up, where people are willing to go to the scary, uncomfortable, complicated places. That's what we're looking for. Carl, I hope that helped.
I was going to say, as long as they're coming with desire, I think that's the biggest piece is,
Exactly.
you don't have to have the knowing, but as long as you've got the desire, what I think we create, you called it an environment, and I've heard it called space before. And at the beginning, I was like years ago, I was like, what is this? Someone kept talking about creating space. I'm like, I don't understand this space. Holding a space,
Yeah.
Creating the space, being the space, whatever. But truly it is like a safe environment. Whether you ask the right question or the wrong question, that was really hard for me at the beginning when I first started coaching. I think you remember, Kim, I used to take notes feverishly because I wanted to have all the right questions and ask the right question at the right time. It's not about that. If you're just there with that person and asking questions and being curious, a lot of times, they already have the answers. We always have the answers within us.
And I would add one thing. And I think this is very important. When we coach someone, it's not that we are delivering coaching, right? When we coach someone, it's like we agree. And the agreement is we're both getting into this boat and we're both rowing and we're both going somewhere together because we're agreeing to get into the boat. So when I coach you, the intent is for me to have some kind of impact on you. But when I coach you, I'm in your boat and we're rowing together and you will have an impact on me. And so it's more about that journey that we're taking together and the relationship we build in the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I'm going to say is even if they know where they are at the beginning, they're never going to see where they're at the end, right? Like even me as a coach, like where I start out with each client is never where I end up as a human being, right? Like I'm learning something from every step of the way, and the universe just has a miracle way of putting things in front of me that I need to deal with also. So it's a very symbiotic relationship, right? And it's a level of intimacy. Like coaching a client is a level of intimacy, and sometimes it's the deepest level that somebody has in their life, because they're conveying their deepest, darkest believed issues, right, or things that are obstacles to them, and that is a bond that is not easily broken, right?
That's my favorite part of the whole thing. I tell clients, look out, you're stuck with me now. But it's fun because, particularly one that I'm coaching right now, we're on week 9. So we usually do 10 weeks to start, and we're on week 9. And, so we have that conversation at that call to say, hey, we have one more official call at the moment, but like, I'm here for life. And she's like, really? Like I feel like I have a new friend. I said, yeah, you're stuck with me now.
Yep.
And then they come back around 3 years later. I had someone who just recently came back around, and it was such a fun conversation. And to see, sometimes we get stuck again. We learn and then we beat ourselves up because we feel like we've slid back. And, I spent all that time and money before, and for what? Because here I feel like I'm stuck in that same spot. But we literally had a 20-minute conversation, and he traveled the same distance in those 20 minutes that he had traveled in 10 weeks 3 years ago. And then he just texted me the other day and has this phenomenal new opportunity that he just signed papers for. And so it's really fun to see how, even though, we're only in the boat for a short period of time, we stick together for a long period of time, and it impacts both of our lives tremendously, forever. It changes you. Carl has another question here.
It's not a question, it's a comment.
Comment. Go ahead. Kim, I'm going to let you read it.
With my clients, I establish collaborative partnerships, and I'm committed to supporting my clients to maintain self-accountability, love that, and to take full ownership of their coaching outcomes. Good.
Self-accountability, self-awareness, living in their truth, right? Not hiding from themselves. It's important, right? And these are bonds that they create with themselves as well, right? At a much deeper level than they probably ever have before. And everyone needs coaching. Everyone needs coaching.
Especially coaches.
I mean,
that's why we do this, isn't it?
Right. I mean, and I have coaches all over the place that I talk to, that I work with, that I'm partners with, that I'm friends with, that whatever you want to call it, right? And there's a give and a take and an exchange in every conversation I have with someone. And there's always insight to be shared. And one thing, one of the main reasons that I absolutely love what Becca's doing is because they're all coaches that she's worked with. They're all people that she knows. Not just worked
with, massively impacted my world.
Right. And to me, there's no greater badge of honor than somebody who's advocating for you as a coach. Yeah. Right. And she is doing it purely from a place of passion and respect and honoring the gift that she was given by working with those people. That is one of the reasons that I said we need to partner, because the passion and the purpose and living in her truth and being able to share that with the world is her goal, which means she'll never fail under any circumstances.
Becca needs to be on stage. She can't be behind the scenes.
And she'll get there. She's not ready yet.
So we only have a couple minutes left, but that was the other piece. Mm-hmm. So I had notes because I don't like to be on stage. So I had lots of notes for today because I knew Michael was going to throw it over to me. Something told me that. So the other piece of it, real quick, I was going to say we've got opportunities on the table here. So anybody who's listening that has curiosities about, like, it's so much easier to travel the path with a friend or with somebody, a companion, whether you're in a corporation and you have, space for aligning teams to come in and help align your teams and or yourself, or if you're an individual or corporation. With Frame of Mind, we work with both. If you're not sure where you want to be, come to It's Time events. It's a series of 3 weeks in a row, 2 hours, once a week. And you'll get a exposure to a smorgasbord of opportunities to see what's really, where are you and what fits with you, what resonates with you. So if you've got curiosities, reach out to Kim or Michael or myself. But what's interesting is I was going to have us all talk about fears, because It's Time is all about fear less and live more. And one of my greatest fears is to be the interviewer. I don't know why. I clearly listen to any of the other lives. I can talk. I have no issue with talking. But to be the interviewer, that is a massive fear of mine. But I'm learning, and I have learned from all of the people that are going to be part of It's Time, all of the speakers, that really when you stand and lean towards the faith side of things, and I don't mean faith from a religious standpoint, but just faith in your abilities and your skills and your gifts and the universe around you and the people around you, lean on that over the fear, because the fear is what gets us stuck.
You're crushing it, Becca.
She is. She's a natural. So I'm going to answer this. So, Wayne, I didn't compare them. I added to it, right? And stated that in addition to. Truth is, you can be very self-aware without being self-accountable or accountable to yourself. I don't know why I used it that way. But you cannot have self-accountability if you're not self-aware. So, truthfully, you have to be self-aware first. And that is what creates any of the other things that you need to become addressed, right? Living judgment free and not judging yourself, living in your truth, those types of things. It all starts with self-awareness, right? And just getting to that point where you're very honest and raw with yourself. And because of stigmas and because of indoctrinations and everything else that we've gone through in society and societal norms, we've learned to believe certain things about ourselves that we need to rewire and reprogram and release.
Darn thinking, isn't it, Kim? I said to Kim, I think I have a communication problem. That was my initial call with her. And she said, do you want to know what I think? And I was like, okay, sure. Or what I see, I think is what she said. I'm like, sure, like, have at it, because I feel stuck and I need to know. She's like, I don't think you have a communication problem. I think you have a thinking problem. I had no idea what she was talking about, but I was super curious because she seemed so passionate about what she was telling me. And I dove in, and here I am now.
Yeah,
so
that was a long time ago.
It was, but it was good.
I
So how
find
do
it
people
very-
find you, Michael, if they have a question?
If they're watching this, it's on my channel. So there you go. Go to my LinkedIn. LinkedIn's always the best place to find me. The rest of it, I don't pay attention.
frameofmindcoaching.com. And if you want to send me a note personally, it's kim@frameofmindcoaching.com.
And I am also on LinkedIn, Becca Woodring Buttermore, but also we have our events page, which is itstime.events. So thank you, Michael, for coordinating. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you for leading. You were amazing.
And
Thanks.
thank you for making me a part of it.
Definitely.
Have a good afternoon.
Bye, world.
Bye.
Bye-bye.